The restaurant was filled with soft music, golden lights, and quiet conversations when something unexpected happened that no one at the tables would ever forget. A woman sitting near the window suddenly laughed in a sharp, mocking tone, loud enough that several people turned their heads. Across from her sat a quiet man in a simple shirt, his shoulders slightly hunched, his hands folded together as if he wished he could disappear. In that single moment, the difference between them was painfully clear. She was powerful, confident, and wealthy. He looked tired, humble, and out of place, but within minutes something would happen that would change the way everyone in that room saw them forever. Before we go further, if you believe that kindness and second chances can change lives, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to the channel Kindness. Also tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps these powerful stories reach more people around the world. Daniel Carter had almost canceled the blind date 3 times that evening. Life had not been easy for him. At 36, he was a single father raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily after losing his wife in a tragic accident 5 years earlier. Since then, every day had been a quiet battle of responsibilities. He worked long shifts fixing electrical systems and security equipment across the city, often returning home exhausted but still finding the strength to cook dinner, help Lily with homework, and tuck her into bed with stories about courage and kindness. Dating had never been his priority. In fact, it felt like something from another lifetime. But Lily had recently started asking questions that pierced his heart. She wanted her father to be happy again. She had drawn a picture of their small family with an empty space next to Daniel, and told him that maybe one day someone kind would stand there. That drawing stayed in Daniel's mind for weeks, so when a mutual acquaintance suggested a blind date with a successful businesswoman who might appreciate a good man, Daniel reluctantly agreed. He borrowed a clean shirt, combed his hair more carefully than usual, and told Lily he would only be gone for a couple of hours. The woman sitting across from him now was Victoria Hale, a powerful CEO known throughout the city for building a billion-dollar tech company before the age of 40. Her name appeared in business magazines and leadership conferences. She was confident, stylish, and used to commanding rooms filled with executives. But the moment she saw Daniel walk into the restaurant, something in her expression hardened. She had expected someone very different. Victoria looked at his modest clothes, his slightly worn shoes, and the quiet way he carried himself. Her eyes narrowed with judgment before he had even sat down. When he politely introduced himself, she responded with a thin smile that didn't reach her eyes. As the evening began, Victoria asked questions, but they were not questions of curiosity. They were questions designed to measure status. What company did he run? How large was his house? What investments did he manage? Daniel answered honestly, explaining that he worked as a technician specializing in electrical systems and security installations. He spoke about his daughter with warmth, describing how she loved drawing animals and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. But instead of appreciating his sincerity, Victoria laughed. Not a friendly laugh, but the kind that carried disbelief. The sound turned heads across the restaurant. She leaned back slightly and shook her head, as if the entire situation had become absurd. To her, the evening felt like a mistake arranged by someone who clearly did not understand her world. Daniel's face flushed with embarrassment, but he remained calm. Years of raising Lily alone had taught him patience far stronger than pride. Still, the air around their table felt heavy. Victoria continued speaking in a tone that made it clear she believed their lives existed in completely different universes. She had built empires, attended global conferences, and negotiated deals worth millions. In her eyes, the man sitting across from her represented a life far below her expectations. What she did not know was that Daniel's quiet job had trained him in ways most people never realized. For more than a decade, he had worked on high-risk electrical systems in factories, hospitals, and public buildings. His training included emergency response, advanced safety procedures, and rapid technical troubleshooting during dangerous situations. He had once prevented a warehouse fire by spotting a faulty circuit seconds before it sparked. But Daniel never bragged about those things. To him, they were simply part of doing his job. The restaurant continued its gentle rhythm around them until something subtle began to change. A faint buzzing sound emerged from the lighting fixtures above the dining area. Most people ignored it, assuming it was just normal electrical noise. Daniel did not. Years of experience had trained his ears to notice tiny signals others missed. He glanced upward briefly and noticed something troubling. One of the decorative ceiling lights flickered for half a second before returning to normal brightness. Then he smelled it, a thin, almost invisible scent of overheated wiring. Victoria was still speaking about business expansion strategies when Daniel's attention shifted completely. His instincts sharpened like a switch being flipped. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The buzzing grew slightly louder, followed by another flicker. Across the room, a small electrical panel mounted near the ceiling began to spark behind its cover. Only Daniel noticed. He stood up abruptly. Victoria looked annoyed, assuming he was leaving the table in embarrassment. Her expression turned dismissive as she reached for her drink. But Daniel was already moving. His eyes tracked the exact location of the failing circuit above their section of the restaurant. Sparks burst suddenly from the panel, and a sharp crack echoed through the room. A loose electrical component shot downward like a piece of shrapnel, followed by a small arc of electricity racing along the metal frame of the chandelier directly above Victoria's head. In the span of 2 seconds, Daniel realized the entire lighting fixture was about to collapse. Without hesitation, he lunged forward. He grabbed Victoria's chair and pulled her backward with powerful force just as the chandelier's wiring snapped. The heavy fixture crashed onto the table where she had been sitting moments earlier, exploding into shattered glass and crackling sparks. The restaurant erupted in screams. Electricity hissed across the broken metal frame, and several nearby diners jumped away from their seats in panic. Staff rushed toward the main breaker panel, trying desperately to shut off power. But Daniel was already acting. He quickly grabbed a nearby metal serving tray, using it as insulation to push the sparking wires away from the shattered glass before anyone could step on them. His movements were precise, controlled, and shockingly calm for someone who had just pulled a stranger out of immediate danger. Within seconds, the manager cut the electricity to the building. The buzzing stopped. Silence filled the restaurant, broken only by heavy breathing and the distant sound of shattered glass settling on the floor. Victoria sat frozen a few feet away, staring at the destroyed table where she had been sitting moments earlier. Her heart pounded as realization slowly spread across her face. If Daniel had hesitated even 1 second, the heavy metal chandelier would have fallen directly onto her. The room began to fill with murmurs as people looked toward the quiet man who had acted so quickly. Some diners whispered in amazement, others shook their heads in disbelief. Daniel simply stepped back, brushing a small piece of glass from his sleeve, as if the entire event were nothing unusual. Victoria slowly stood, her confidence completely shaken. For the first time that evening, she looked at Daniel not with judgment but with stunned humility. She realized she had misjudged him entirely. The man she had mocked minutes earlier had just saved her life without a moment of hesitation. The powerful CEO who negotiated billion-dollar deals suddenly felt small in the presence of quiet courage. Daniel returned to the table, now covered in broken glass, and calmly asked if she was hurt. His voice carried no anger, no pride, and no hint of resentment for the way she had treated him earlier. That kindness hit Victoria harder than the falling chandelier ever could. Her eyes filled with emotion she had not expected. For years she had measured people by success, titles, and wealth. She had built walls of ambition so tall that she rarely noticed the simple strength of ordinary people. But tonight, in a moment of danger, the person who protected her was not a powerful executive or a wealthy investor. It was a single father in a modest shirt who carried quiet bravery in his heart. Before we reach the end of this story, we have a small request for you. If this moment made you pause and think about how easily we judge others, write the word kindness in the comments. It helps spread the message that compassion still matters in this world. Victoria looked at Daniel again, but this time with deep respect. She realized that the qualities she had been searching for in powerful boardrooms, loyalty, courage, integrity, had been sitting across from her all along. Sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones the world overlooks. The night ended very differently than it began. The mocking laughter was gone, replaced by quiet understanding. Daniel returned home later that evening to Lily, who ran into his arms asking how the date went. He smiled softly and told her something simple. Sometimes life surprises you in ways you never expect. And somewhere in the city, a CEO who once believed success defined a person was learning that true worth is revealed in moments when kindness and courage appear without warning. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes kindness still matters, and subscribe to Kindness. Your support helps these stories reach people who might need a reminder that compassion, humility, and second chances can change lives in a single moment.